Okay, so I'm breaking a few personal rules when it comes to the content end of this channel and veering dangerously close to breaking a lot more when it comes to reviewing this particular supplement. But I just couldn't pass this one up. Let's talk about Monsters of Murka. Greetings, fellow adventurers. Fred here, and welcome to the Flying Dungeon Master, the show that brings RPGs to as many tabletops as humanly possible. And I am not the first to admit that my homeland of America, land of the free, home of the brave, capitalism, fine takeout dining, bald eagles, and much more, has given people enough ammo to fire lots of really savage, brutal, and hilarious jokes ever targeted at a nation and her people. And the content of Monsters of Murka setting for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is nothing seriously new in terms of the joke material, but they satirize many of the problems that Americans have been facing for a few decades now, and other comedians have speared these jokes in better ways. But we'll get into why this supplement is a work of genius closer to the end. And so without further preamble, let's dive into this supplement. The book opens with an overview of how Murka came to be. If you remember anything from American history in public school, unlike me, this chapter gives you a crash course in Murkan history, which is an alternate version of American history, with a lot of fantasy elements that are a hallmark of Dungeons & Dragons, and starting with the early days and going all the way up through the highlights up to 2016, and we all know how much of a dumpster fire of a year that was. But it also gives you a lot of elements from that time period that can be used as story hooks that can lead into your adventures in Murka, as well as some factions that are part of Murka's system and those who fight it. The second chapter of this book lays out the player options, which are some of the best mockeries of American stereotypes I have ever seen, ranging with backgrounds such as the undergrad with mountains of student debt, which is a perfect stab at the American higher education system, which would make more than a few people I know, if I were to run a game with them, squirm in their chairs if I used this setting with this feature. But the subclasses are where the player options truly shine, with subclasses like for the barbarian, the Path of Gains, which is inspired by the American bodybuilder culture, the fighter subclass, Action Hero, which is a spoof on the action hero like Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger, those heroes, and a monastic tradition based on pro wrestling, in which, just to name a few of the many subclasses that are available. But my personal favorite that I just have to talk about, in terms of the subclasses, is the one for Warlock, which their patron is the crowd, where they basically sell their soul to the spotlight, which has a hilarious way of lampooning the social media influencer or YouTuber in some cases, is which I'm not even mad about. I usually enjoy content that makes fun of YouTubing, and I usually just laugh right along with it because in some cases they're not wrong. The next 3 chapters go over major locations in Murka, which are essentially key cities in America gone over with the fantasy paintbrush. Like Washington is Washtown, Seattle is Seattled, old Hollywood is Hollywoods. Each city listed here gets its own chapter, but I'm surprised there isn't a New York City chapter, given how prolific the Big Apple is in American culture. But in addition to the lore of each town, you get info on high-profile figures from each that can be used for plot details in your campaign. And a lot of these are fantasy caricatures of high-profile people from those cities. I don't think I need to go into some of the people who are parodied in these chapters. Following the city chapters, we have magical items and treasure. The goodies presented in this chapter are just as parodied as others. There's even the currency, making coins such as gold, silver, and copper, or bucks, which are named for King Washington's nickname, the buck, as well as the lowest form of currency, which is exposure, which is really making fun of how the American corporate system has implemented the ability to pay with exposure to people instead of actually paying money for their services. But outside of currency, they also include a complete firearm system and explosives is for use in the game. I mean, you can't have Americans without the right to bear arms or make things go boom. That's just part of American culture. The magical items cover all the rarities and include a lot of imaginative ideas, like a donut box that has donuts that have different abilities. There's a cursed book series that makes fun of the rabid fans of young adult literature. A super powerful great sword with a rainbow colored blade whose initial spell LGBTQIA+. I know a few people who would want to make a character wanting to get that blade if I did a campaign featuring it. And finally, my favorite creation in this book, corporate sponsorships, because same as what I said about the warlock patron of the crowd, I love things that satirize influencers and YouTubers, because and one of the things that this thing satirizes is the brand deal. Well, basically, whenever you do something cool, and you plug the brand that sponsors you, they'll toss you some gold your way. So suffice it to say, they did not shy away in terms of the magical items being sources for satire as well. The 8th chapter of this book gives us monsters to fight, and some of them are mockeries of people from America, but my favorite section is what they do with dragons in Murka. The most prolific of them being the Freedom Dragon, with wings, claw, and heads of an eagle, all which is pretty much a very American-style dragon. Another American interpretation of dragons that they created is the dragon, which seem to be more weapon than beast, as they are dragons with heads in the form of guns, with even the smaller ones being called pistolings. And there are different ones depending on what type breed of weapon they are. And that's just scratching the surface of what is in this book in terms of monsters, because there is a lot more to be found and fought in Murka. While a lot of this book has a lot of very ingenious writing, I have to say my favorite section of this book ever has to be their Pantheon section, because all the gods and goddesses are based on real-life celebrity. This actually makes perfect sense given America's obsession with celebrity worship, and it makes perfect sense that the chief deities are actually based on Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, and the geniuses behind Dungeons and Dragons. But they aren't the only deities, because people can ascend to god status, and there are many who have who are celebrities in this world, gain such notoriety, and examples of characters parodied include Michael Bay, Darth Vader, Rosie the Riveter, and a slew more, which makes an ingenious piece of creative writing that brings the hilarity to a whole other divine level. Overall, I did say that the content that they cover in this supplement isn't anything that's totally new, but what makes it genius is the interactivity that lets the players either join in on the ridiculousness and hilarity, or try to make things right with America. It's completely up to the players and DM what they want to do with this. Personally, I join in on the hilarity, because at the end of the day, it's just a game. And it gives us it gives people plenty of adventures to laugh along with and do just as ridiculous stuff as you'd find in America in real life, but in the safe setting of a tabletop game. But with that, we are going to wrap up. Have you played Monsters of Murka setting? And if you have any thoughts on it, I'd love to hear them down in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, consider giving a like, and subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss another video. If you want to support the channel, follow me on social media or contact me directly. There's a link to my Linktree page in the description below where you can find it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the trail of adventure.